We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
On a recent episode of his show, Joe Rogan did this little rant about how Kamala Harris's approach to free speech and social media really does pose an existential threat to shows like his, content creators like us, etc. And it's pretty important information you need to hear. We'll talk about it in a second, but first, here's what Joe Rogan had to say.
The more we have platforms where that stuff is just free, where you can just say whatever you want, say whatever you think about anything, which really X and Rumble are the only places that I know of that you could really do that right now.
Have you had any problem on audio at all?
No.
Good.
No.
Good. I haven't either.
It's, yeah, audio is like they're leaving that alone for now. I think it's probably because it's not as easily shared. Right?
That's what's coming next.
Yeah, probably. I mean, all they would have to do is just put images of you and images of me and then have our audio and upload that as a video. And then maybe they would start coming after audio.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hope, you know, I just hope the shit starts to turn around.
I do too, but I don't think it turns around if Kamala Harris gets into office. I think they clamp down more. I think the same 100%. Stuff that they were trying to do with Twitter, they'll try to do with something else and with other things. They've already openly discussed it. You know, she's openly discussed that the same rules have to apply to Facebook, they have to apply to Twitter, and that Elon Musk could lose his privileges. And, like, there's so many wild things that they're saying. Tim Walz said that the First Amendment doesn't apply to misinformation or hate speech. Okay, well, it certainly does. It does.
Yes,
you know, sometimes people say things wrong. And the goal of the First Amendment is you say something wrong, and then this guy who's an expert says the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then you correct them.
Yeah, I mean, the misinformation, I mean, it's just all opinion.
Right. Well,
you know?
So much of it turns out to be true.
Folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new. But no, what Joe Rogan is talking about is absolutely true. You think he's making it up? Here are the receipts of exactly everything Joe Rogan brought up in that clip, and you can be assured that under Kamala Harris, if she gets what she wants, the censorship of shows like his is absolutely coming to an America near you.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Yeah, and again, there absolutely is a guarantee, though. That's how the First Amendment works. And this is sort of an underrated point of the entire Kamala Harris campaign. You know, we attack them for a lot of things: fracking, guns, you know, the tax crazy plan, or the fakeness on immigration. But how about the fact that in 2024, these are not old clips we are digging up. These are all things they have said recently. In 2024, the Kamala Harris campaign is openly running on not believing in free speech or the First Amendment. You want to talk about a threat to democracy? Let's talk about this.
He has lost his privileges and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
So there's Kamala Harris casually saying, first of all, free speech should not exist on social media. And then secondly, in order to make sure that free speech doesn't exist on social media, we should nationalize the control of all these platforms, not to protect the Constitution or the First Amendment, but rather to ensure that Kamala Harris and content that criticizes her can be banned from the internet. Yeah, again, this is all completely true.
We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation
or cyber warfare. If you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
Yeah, so it can't be understated, and I think there is a general consensus among all content creators like Joe Rogan, like myself, who are mildly critical, let's say, of Kamala Harris. We are all under serious threat, and these platforms that we post on are under serious threat if she is allowed to take the White House. I'm glad Joe Rogan is out there calling it out, but at the same time, I have to ask the question respectfully. If it's such a big deal, as Joe Rogan is rightly pointing out that it is, why won't he just have Donald Trump on the podcast? Because clearly he gets it. Clearly he understands the existential threat that a Kamala presidency actually poses to free speech, but he still won't interview Trump. I mean, really, the time is running out between now and the election to do so. Come on, Joe. You understand the stakes. Just finally do the right thing. It'll be good for ratings, good for views, good for business as well. You know you want to interview Donald Trump. Come on, man.
So when are you having Trump on?
I don't know.
Okay. The look,
I don't know. Maybe.
Looks like you got something.
Maybe.
Okay, good. That's good. I think that's...
Look, at a certain point in time, it's just like, it would be interesting to hear his perspective on a lot of things. I would like to know, what is it like when you actually get into office? I would like to know things like, what is it like versus perception?
Yeah.
What is it actually like when you get in that building? Like, what are you greeted with? When do you know that people are fucking with you? When do you know that the intelligence agency is lying to you? Like, when you decided to fire Comey, what was the thought? How much did you know? Like, what's the machine like? What is the deep state really like? Really like? Because we have all these, smoky room perceptions, like from the Bill Hicks joke, where they show you the Kennedy assassination from.
Okay, Joe, I get it. Clearly, you want to have a discussion with Trump. You got questions for him. That's good. Why don't you ask him those questions?
Not.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing you and Trump together.
You keep pushing that.
I think, okay, I'll tell you from my perspective, like, on why you ought to consider it when you do it. I'll just give you my...
Okay.
Just so you know, he and I don't speak. It's not something that is like, hey, his camp saying go in there and do this and do that. No, I've never interviewed the guy. So it's not like I'm, lobbying for it. But I think if, when you think about sports or you think about fights, what is the boxing world if Frazier Ali never happens, right? What is the UFC world if DC John Jones doesn't happen or Khabib Conor doesn't happen? And they're both at their peak and those fights don't happen. We can go on with sports, with baseball, with, interviews of Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson. You go look at, some of these things that happen with Larry King or her and, a bunch of different guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Bet David is right. It is the interview that would break the internet. It'd be the biggest interview of all time. Okay, so again, I say it's good for business, but at the same time, I understand the counter argument Joe Rogan might kind of have in his heart, which is, well, Spotify will be mad, YouTube will be mad. Maybe you lose sponsors. Maybe you draw unwanted controversy. I understand all that, okay? Joe's not a diehard political commentator, but at the same time, we do know where he really stands, okay, at least ideologically nowadays. And I'll just say this, like, ultimately, there always comes a time in a man's life, most of us have to face this decision at some point, between doing the comfortable thing and doing the right thing. And Joe Rogan, as I heard in that opening clip and you heard as well of this video, clearly understands that there are serious stakes, right? And look, Joe will be fine. Joe will always have money even if he gets deplatformed, but he also understands the game. He understands the business for the smaller creators still trying to make a come up, or, they currently make paycheck to paycheck living off of doing this, the threat that Kamala Harris poses if she wins. So why not at least, you don't have to donate to Trump or campaign for him or anything, but hey, give him the platform, sit down and interview him. And I understand there may be some negative ramifications, but like I said, Joe understands the stakes. He clearly kind of wants to do it deep down in here. Again, there's a time in a man's life you just got to have courage. You got to stand up, do something bold, do something outrageous. Why the heck not? Joe, I absolutely believe if you view things this way, Interview Donald Trump. It's not too late. There's still a little bit of time between now and the election. Just do it, man. Why not? I don't know. With that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below, and be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.